Hello and welcome to Educated Parenting. I'm your host, Adrienne Watson Carver, and with me is Dr. Frances Bond. And today's programming, we have Dr. Dallas Dance, Superintendent of Baltimore County Public Schools.
Today, we'll be talking about the importance of communication and parent involvement and the valuable connections among the parent, teacher, and the student.
Welcome, Dr. Dance.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
As a former teacher, a former principal, and now a parent yourself, how important is parent involvement in a child's full development as a student?
Well, I think we all know that it's extremely important. I think that what we're trying to do as a county, though, is turn the tables a little bit. So we've always looked at it as parent involvement, and it really is community engagement. So how do you really get folks engaged around what's happening in our county and getting parents engaged around what's happening with their children and grandparents engaged about what's happening with their grandchildren? So we realized that in our county, we have over 70% of the homes who don't have school-aged children. And we also have over 55% of the homes who don't have school-aged children or grandchildren. So it becomes really, really imperative for us as a school system that if we're going to move our county forward, it's going to be because of education, but folks have to be engaged around the process. And so as we look to develop our strategic plan, and we are literally in the final stages of that now, a lot of it is built around communication and how do we all as a community come together to figure out what we need to do for our young people.
Can you let us know and let our listeners know how you will engage parents this year?
Well, I think one of the things that was very clear throughout the interview process when the search firm was looking for a new superintendent, that the community wanted someone who's going to be open. They were going to be upfront, very honest with them. But they wanted to know what was the direction of the school system. And so because we have one of the largest sectors of Baltimore County, we have to make sure that folks understand what we're doing. You know, we're 52% of the county's budget. So folks want to know, again, what are we doing in order to move our county forward? But we have the lives of young people in our hands, and so folks want to know about that. And so our primary business is learning. And so what's happening in all 174 of our schools? What is the school system looking to do to prepare our students to be globally competitive? And so for us as a school system, we can really talk to the over 18,000 employees we have, over 100,000 students we have, but really the community of Baltimore County is over 800,000 residents. And so again, when we talk about being the best school system in our state or in the country, we have to engage this community around that process. And we've started to do that. So if people will look at our website, they'll see upgrades that we've done there. Folks see more of the communication tools we've used with our remote call home system.
Yes.
But also folks see that we're doing things with like newsletters, we're doing things with social media. We're doing a lot of engagement with our schools so that school communities feel connected to principals and what they're doing at their school. Nothing beats face-to-face, though, interaction. And so what I've intended to do is as we travel throughout the county, folks are starting to see me, they're starting to see my staff, and we're all talking about the same thing. What does it really mean to be globally competitive for our kids? And I think when we roll out, probably toward the end of March, what the strategic plan really looks like, we're going to define what that really means and what it looks like, and then it's going to be up to us to really get the community around that messaging, and that's all with communicating it.
How can we be assured that parents and grandparents are collaboratively really interested and asking the right questions about communication and, you know, reaching that audience? You know, what audience should the parents and grandparents be targeting with their questions?
You know, I'll tell you, there's nothing beats a question to a child. And we see children every single day. Now, you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions, meaning tell me something that you learned today, where a child has to think back to something that actually occurred within the last, 5 to 6 hours at school. But also the real audience for parents and grandparents is the teacher. So there is no most important role in the school system than that of a classroom teacher and his or her students. I tweeted about that the other day. And so literally if parents and grandparents are asking questions of teachers, and something as simple as, what can I do to help you do your job easier or better, or what can I do at home to work with my child and my grandchild? Those are key questions right there that really can form partnerships and really critical relationships for teachers and parents and grandparents. So again, asking questions of students and really asking questions of teachers. And then the role of the principal really is one where they're the liaison between the community and their school. And so that's why I'm really, really big when I sit with principals and I visit schools, asking them, what are they really doing to engage their community? But for us as a school system, we have to have a framework in place first, and that's what we're creating.
And you talked about communicating by way of email, and phone communication. What about the parent who's a little intimidated by going into the school and talking to the parent, talking to the teacher, or the parent that may not be computer savvy? What are some suggestions for those parents?
Well, this is interesting. I had a conversation with one parent probably about 3 weeks ago, and what she said was, I had a bad experience in school too, so I don't like visiting school.
Right.
And what I told her is that one of the things that we have to do as educators is that we educate young people on a day-to-day basis, but our job also is to educate our parents and our community as well. And so there are many programs that we have for parents to get involved. We have many of our schools with parent resource centers. We have a parent mobile that we have as a school system. If you want to get involved, we want you to. Even if you don't think that you should be involved, we want you to. And so, we reach out our hands as a partnership to our parents in our community. Nothing beats you just walking through the door. And I am convinced that out of the 174 principals that we have in the school system, no one's going to turn a parent away, a community volunteer away, or even a grandparent. So the first step definitely is to walk through the door and say, how can I help you? And I have principals who are doing the same thing, asking parents in the community of different suggestions they can do to actually help them. And so it has to be a two-way street. It can't be something where we're saying this is what we need from you, or you're saying this is what you need from us. It has to go both ways, and we've started that relationship with our community.
Yes, and it's the connection, that connection that's so important there.
It is. This business is all about relationships. You
Yes.
know this.
Yes.
And parents know that as well too. If we're really going to change the lives of young people, whose future is definitely something that we never would have imagined. We're preparing for jobs that have not even been created yet. The relationship between adults really will be a critical factor. So we're going to need them.
Before you leave today, Dr. Dance, is there anything else that you want to tell parents about being involved in their students' education?
Well, I'll tell you this, and I can say this probably as a parent now, and I realize that my mother as a grandparent, my father as a grandparent now, some of the things they told me, of course, when I was younger, now it's coming to life because I'm a parent myself. But nothing beats asking a question of a young person. And again, we might feel like they're not listening. You'll be surprised at how often they're listening to us, and they're even looking at actions that we make, and even things that we don't do. They're looking at it. And so the key advice that I would give to any member of our community is we see kids every day. Ask a question of them, even if it's something as simple as, what did you learn today in school? And you would be shocked whether it's a 5-year-old at an elementary school or whether it's an 18-year-old, the answer and response you get. And one thing I always will do is I will ask them is, what can we do differently for you? What can we do to improve upon your experience with us? And this is why I do my student town halls. The more feedback we can get from students and from parents, it's ultimately going to make us a better school system. And the reality is, if we're going to improve educational outcomes or really improve the economy of Baltimore County, it's going to be the educational system of Baltimore County. So we have to make sure that's top notch if we want to attract families and businesses to our community.
Well, Dr. Dance, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You've truly informed our parents of a lot of things going on, and I'm excited because I'm a parent of 3 children in Baltimore County Public Schools.
Well,
so thanks
glad
again.
you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
We're going to take a short break, and once we return, we'll be introducing to you our next guest, Mrs. Angela Rountree, Baltimore County Public Schools Teacher of the Year. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
So many kids' activities today seem to leave out the activity part. New research tells us that just getting children to walk an extra 35 minutes a day could spare them the pain of thinning bones later in life. Encourage your kids to get up, get out, and get moving.
Hello. Hey, Grandma, how about another grape soda?
A public service message on building strong bones for kids from the Pediatric Orthopedic Society of North America and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Welcome back. We would like to welcome to our show Miss Angela Rountree. Miss Rountree is Baltimore County Public Schools Teacher of the Year. She's also the chairperson of the art department at Ridgely Middle School. Welcome and congratulations on being selected as Baltimore County's Teacher of the Year. That's so awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Throughout your career, what steps have you taken to become such a beloved and exceptional teacher?
Well, I've always been aware that people learn differently, and so I design my lessons so that they appeal to a variety of learning styles. And so we not only draw and paint in my class, but we also will go outside, we listen to music, go to the computer lab, read, write. We do a variety of things to try to make the class more engaging for students and to increase student achievement. I'm also very passionate about service learning, and so my lessons often will have components that will allow students to share their concerns about issues in the environment, racism, sexism, things that are important to them so that they can see that art can make a difference in the world.
You know, I can see why you were selected then as Teacher of the Year. That's very passionate things to engage in. One of my interests that I believe is so important is the communication between teachers, parents, and grandparents. And I believe the most effective way that teachers and parents can communicate is through the teacher conference.
Right.
And I know that in your career you must have gone through lots and lots and lots of teacher conferences. What advice would you give to parents so that they can adequately prepare for that conference?
Well, I think it's a good idea before going into the conference for the parent to sit down with the child and to let them know that they're going to be meeting with the teacher and ask them just, how do you think things are going this year? What are your favorite parts about school this year? Anyone who has a child knows that you have to ask very specific questions because it's like pulling teeth to get them to talk about school. But ask them questions like, you know, if you could change one thing about school this year, what would that be? Also might want to consider digging through their backpack, get out their take-home folder or their binder, and see what they're working on in school and see what kind of progress that they've made since the most recent report card. I also think it's a good idea for parents to make a list of questions that they have for the teacher prior to going into the conference so that they will be prepared. Questions not only about policies and procedures, but also how do you think my child is doing socially, academically? Is there something that I could be doing at home to try to help my child achieve better in school?
Ms. Rountree, as a teacher, why is it so important? What do you gain from a parent coming in and talking to you about their child?
Well, one of my favorite parts about parent-teacher conferences is that I really get to know a lot about the student that I wouldn't necessarily pick up from having the child in class. Last year I had a conference with parents. They came in because their child was struggling with homework assignments, and through the conference discussion, I learned that the child was really interested in zombies. And so I was able to sneak that into one of the future sketchbook assignments, and it really increased his buy-in in my class. And so I think that it's really important for parents to bring with them a list of things that they would like the teacher to know about their child, whether it's social and emotional type issues or academic, whatever, but something that you think the teacher might not pick up in class.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Mrs. Rountree. That was wonderful advice for our parents. So, Fred, are you ready to give us the tip of the day?
I am. In continuing with the theme of communication, my tip of the day elaborates on the importance of effective parent-teacher conferences. A parent-teacher conference is an opportunity for the parent and the child's teacher to engage in conversations about the child's learning at school and at home. If you want to schedule a conference, don't hesitate to call the teacher at school, write a note, or email the teacher. But do prepare for the conference with a list of questions or information that you want to share about your child or grandchild. And during the conference, make notes on what the teacher has said so you can follow up with their recommendations at home. Remember that student achievement will improve when students, parents and grandparents, and teachers work together as a team. Until next time, I'm Frances Bond.
And I'm your host, Adrienne Watson Carver, saying goodbye until next time.
Hi, I'm Dallas Dance, the Superintendent of Baltimore County Public Schools, and you're watching BCPS-TV.